Well, hello, everybody.
Hi there.
Welcome to our July episode of Thoughts Explored. Um, we are actually recording 2 and 1, but we are recording this for July. So we are in our car, so it might sound a little different than all of the other broadcasts that we do. Lex, you can pipe in anytime.
Hello.
You have to speak up.
Oh, yes. Just to, as Chris said, it might just sound a little bit different in the quality because we are on the I-5 heading north at the moment.
So, the topic I wanted to talk about, one of the topics I wanted to talk about was time and the idea that my idea is that we exist in time, and so we can't run out of time. We can't. It's kind of weird for me to hear people say that they don't have enough time, because like we're in time. So that is the topic that I wanted to talk about. So now, Lex, I'll throw it over to you, and you tell me your thoughts.
It's an interesting idea, that what you said, that we are of time, and you could also look at it as time is merely a construct of ours. So we're not necessarily of time so much as we've created time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
yes.
I mean, obviously, even without man-made construct, we have the sunrise, the sunset, and time passes. But
yes.
When we're talking about like how our relationship in our current manifestation as human beings, our relationship with time is always something that it seems like we are oftentimes struggling to manipulate, which is ironic because with my idea that it is something that we've kind of created for our own self, it's like we're fighting what we've put in place.
What got me thinking about it was just some of these phrases, like I said, like running out of time, or I don't have enough time, or I don't have time,
or I have too much time on my hands.
I have too much time. It's just kind of like, and if there was a picture that I could say that I would invoke as I'm thinking about this, it would just be us on a plot, and there is everything is available. So when I think about that construct of time, it's almost as if we're defining those things when we say that, and it's not necessarily true. Like, it's not necessarily true that we've run out of time, because who set the boundary of what that time is? Now, of course, if you're trying to get to work on time, in air quotes, on time, then there is a goal that you have to meet,
like an agreed upon time.
Well, I'm just thinking about it like in the more broader terms of, I think it causes a lot of angst when people are like, sometimes people thrive on that. Like, I know I certainly do. Like, I need some deadlines, because otherwise it gets very ethereal for me. And I'm very much like, oh, yeah, I thought about that like a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I should, or I really want to complete that. I need a little bit of pressure, so a little bit of tension in order to perform into that. So, that could be part of it when people are kind of building that in to create that dynamic, so that they feel like, okay, I've got to get it done.
I think that is true. I know for myself, sometimes that is helpful to have that structure. Whether it's somebody in a job setting that is creating that for me, or even just from my own, from my own stuff of like, well, by Wednesday, I really need to have da 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 da, or by 2 in the afternoon, or, whatever that structure is, can be helpful. I think sometimes because we've created this construct of time, and so often it seems in our language, mine and just people's that I hear, it's a disgruntledness. Oh, I've got too much time on my hands, or time has gotten away from me, or I don't have enough time, or sort of a disgruntledness with the construct. And what comes to my mind is that it might be exactly in contrast to being, when we talk about being not in the future and not in our past, but truly in the present.
In the moment. Because
if we're truly in the present, in the moment, theoretically,
you're not worried about time.
You're not fussing about whether you have too much time or not enough time, because it's sort of like the idea of too much time, not enough time, blah, 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 about time and that construct sort of kind of denotes past and future, instead of truly just in the moment.
Yes.
So that's kind of an interesting cognitive dissonance, or sort of interesting irony.
Yes.
Not to say that anything is better or worse, but just when we think about also the ideology of being just truly in the moment.
Yes. I think it's it is very interesting to kind of break that down and think about how we are spending our time too. There's days probably where, especially now, where you're like, okay, so what exactly happened in that period of time? And then I think that there's a whole segment of people are like, oh, okay, so it'd be nice if I could do that over again, because I really feel like I could have done things a little bit differently in the time that
you mean like in this past 24 hours,
right?
What have I done with 24 hours,
right?
And then you're like, nothing.
And again,
but then that adds a judgment.
Well, then you go back to the 24 hours, and it's like it's totally a conceived thing. Like, we are marking time by the sun rising and the sun setting. How do we even know that that's 24 hours? I mean, so I get really crazy here and just thinking about that. And then I think, again, just the whole aspect of running out of time. I think about, there's a clock, there's a person, and then all of a sudden then the person is out of the clock because they've run out of time. That's the illustration that I think about.
Like they've literally exited time. Yeah. And like run away from time, almost.
And I think that's an interesting visual to kind of think about and say, well, maybe it's not that.
Like you have a playing field called time.
Yes.
And you've exited that playing field.
Yeah.
Like you've
so
run
it's almost
out
like
time.
you've
run out to like outfield or something.
Yeah, you've run out. And so when are you going to put yourself back in? That would be the question. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I started thinking about maybe a couple weeks ago, and I thought when I started thinking about the illustrations that were coming to mind, it was kind of made me chuckle just a little bit.
It's an interesting musing, yeah, for sure.
So,
and the different ways our English language uses the phrase time, or out of time, too much time, like it's just how And then that makes me wonder what other languages and other cultures have a similar relationship with time, or is it just sort of a Western civilization ideology of that out of time, not enough time, too much time, running out of time, struggle almost, or angst around the term and the phrase time.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably other cultures in the world that really don't overthink it like we do regularly.
I do, but I do think too that there's there's time tests. There's these things that are built in to society that make you have to be super cognizant of what you're doing with your time. Like most tests are timed. There's very few tests that will be like, oh, just take as much time as you want.
You have 1 hour to achieve this.
And I'll have to tell you that on my walks, had I been under that particular scope of, well, I've only got 30 minutes to complete this walk, I wouldn't have found half of the crap that I've found. Not crap. Half of the stuff that I've found. You know what I mean? Because there's just this rush, and you just don't have the opportunity when somebody's sitting there telling you only have this much time to see everything.
Right.
Like, so then you have to say to yourself, let me prioritize this, and I'm only going to look for this, I'm only going to look for that. What I love about my walks is that I'm open to whatever comes into my perception.
It's limitless.
So, anyway, I just thought that would be kind of a fun topic to talk about. So thanks for going down that rabbit hole with me.
Yeah, we think so often of time as a limiting thing, one way or another, because it's structure, and structure sometimes feels limiting, large or small, but still it's got a specificity to it with time, instead of just truly a feeling or a notion of absolutely open-endedness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. This was a fun one.
So on that note, we will end this podcast.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back at you very shortly with one more.
We'll check you out soon. Bye.
Bye.